Welcome aboard, everybody. Dr. Peter Glidden here, your steadfast advocate for health, welcoming you to another live edition here, the 20th day of March 2014, the 20th day of March 2014. As you may have known, if you've been following us for a while here, you're aware that one of our longevity members, Todd Harrison, has been forwarding the cause for muscular dystrophy awareness, the holistic treatment, not of muscular dystrophy specifically, but holistic medical therapeutics designed to support and promote the structure and function of the musculoskeletal system of the body. He's been forwarding this cause with us for quite a long time, and we are lucky enough, I believe, to have him in the studio right now. We're going to try to connect with him. Mr. Harrison, are you with us?
Yes, I'm here, Dr. Glidden.
Come on in, Todd Harrison. Can you hear me?
Yeah, can you hear me?
No, your signal is extremely low. There must be some type of a problem with the connection. Let's reconfigure this and try it again a little bit later. I appreciate this very much. So in any event, ladies and gentlemen, stay tuned for that. We're going to be talking directly to Todd Harrison, who's going to bring us up to speed with what's going on in the muscular dystrophy world. Because there's quite a bit that's happening there. He just completed a big fundraiser. We're going to be forwarding research with medical nutrition amongst the muscular dystrophy community here in the United States. And it's really pretty exciting. I'm very much looking forward to moving that ball down the court. Todd's really gone a long way to where he's really taken it upon himself as a layperson. He's himself diagnosed with muscular dystrophy. A lot of people in his family, a lot of people in his world, right? You know, it's a close community. And they're having some noteworthy successes, and he's really gone above and beyond the call of duty, as far as I'm concerned, in the world as a layperson, standing up on a pedestal and telling conventional medical doctors, look, you better figure it out because there is a different way to handle this. There is a different way to handle this, and, you know, people like Todd are going to change the world, and we're going to try to get him back in the saddle here very, very soon. Now, today, of course, is Metaphysical Thursday, and on Thursdays we talk about things which are outside of the ken of conventional medicine. Outside of the ken of conventional medicine, the stuff that medical science doesn't have any understanding or have somewhat of an appreciation for it, but as far as medical science is concerned, if it's a phenomenon that can't be proved with a double-blinded study, if it can't be verified objectively, then it just doesn't exist. As far as the MDs are concerned, consciousness itself, is a metaphysical phenomenon. Love is a metaphysical phenomenon. If you've ever said that you told anybody that you love them, according to the way that conventional science tracks this, you're lost. You're just basically lying to yourself, because love is something which can't be proved. I mean, you may say that you love your mother, but can you prove it? You may say that you love your brother or your son or your daughter or your husband or your wife, but can you prove it? You may have an out-of-the-body experience. You may be lying on the operating table and have an out-of-the-body experience, but you will not be able to prove it. When you come back into your body and you tell people about your experiences, they're going to think that you're hallucinating. It's kind of along the same lines as trying to tell somebody what a lemon tastes like, or, what a lime tastes like, or what anything tastes like. You can approximate it. You can tangentially come up to it, but you can't actually do it. You have to experience it. And this is the problem. with metaphysical phenomena. They must be experienced in order to be proved. They must be experienced in order to be proved. And the only person that really is going to, the proof is going to exist for, are going to be the people that have the experience for themselves. It's not anything that you can, you can communicate effectively to anybody else. And so we talk about, in this concept, the vital force of the human body, the body's ability to fix itself. As far as the MDs are concerned, that's a fiction. It doesn't exist. It's a figment of somebody's imagination. It has no bearing in reality. As far as the MDs are concerned, consciousness is a function of biochemistry, and that your body itself is just a haphazard biochemical amalgamation of stuff, which was an evolutionary accident and is basically a bag of chemicals waiting to explode. Acupuncture can't possibly work because the MDs have found no way to quantify the action of acupuncture. The homeopathic medicines are diluted so much beyond Avogadro's number. They're diluted so much that it is impossible for them to work, and yet they work. The mechanisms of acupuncture, the mechanisms of homeopathy are not known. Just like gravity, they're not known. Nobody knows how gravity works. Nobody knows what causes gravity, but we don't go around saying, oh, gravity doesn't work. Well, it's the same way with homeopathy. It's the same way with acupuncture. It's the same way with acupressure. It's the same way with healing for touch. It's the same way, quite frankly, with all of the metabolic processes that are happening inside the body all of the time. Your body does not, your body knows how to fix itself. This is our fundamental supposition. And because it's, we can't really objectifiably prove this in a manner which befits the ken of the medical scientific technique to the MD. It's a ridiculous figment. It doesn't exist, and it is a big problem. Now, we're having audio problems here. I'm going to try to pot up my guest, Todd Harrison. Todd, are you back with us?
Yes, hello. Can you hear me?
Yeah, nope. You're coming in real slow on my end again, Todd. I can hardly hear you at all. If you're talking into a telephone, hold the phone right up to your mouth, or put the headset right up to your mouth and speak louder, and let's give it another try.
All right. Is this better? Can you hear me?
Very weak, Todd. We're going to have to try this on another day. I apologize. We just don't have the audio stuff dialed in here. I apologize very much. It's a very slow feed here, and I can barely hear you. So we're going to have to dial this in with the GCN tech team on another day. Sorry, we're going to have to make this happen some other time, Todd. I appreciate you very much. Keep your fingers crossed. We'll try to dial this in again tomorrow. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm Dr. Peter Glidden. This is my Metaphysical Thursday edition of Fire Your MD Now. Please give us a phone call. Give the studio a call. I'd love to talk to you today about anything that you'd like to having to do with science-based, clinically verified, holistic medical nutrition. I appreciate your support. Longevity Nation is growing. Longevity Nation is growing in leaps and bounds. A big convention coming up at the end of April 24th, I believe. This year the convention's going to be in Anaheim, right next to the original Disneyland. Remember the original Disneyland? I think right now there's 1,200 registered people who are going to attend. Yours truly is going to attend. Lots of members of Team Glidden are going to attend. If you are a longevity person and you are even remotely concerned, remotely considering growing a longevity business, even part-time, then you need to attend the convention, because at the convention we're going to talk about lots of stuff. It's a very inspiring event, lets you know that you're not alone in this battle. It's easy to feel alone in this battle, and it is a battle. We're battling the mainstream We're going against the grain. We're telling people the truth after they've been lied to for almost 100 years. And, it's kind of an uphill swim. It's an uphill struggle. And you need to know that you're not alone. You need to know that there are other people around who can feel the same way, who think the same way, and who are taking action, perhaps maybe taking action in a little bit different fashion than you've grown accustomed to yourself, because like the fella said, you don't know what you don't know, and there's always room for improvement. There's always room to learn a little more. The convention really helps people to dial that in. My recommendation, if you're even remotely considering doing anything with longevity, then attend the conference. You want to attend the conference. That's coming up at the end of April. Phones are ringing off the hook here today, as they do every day. We're coming up quickly on the end of this segment. At the beginning of the next segment, we're going to go to Michigan, talk to our old friend Dave, who's attempting to get off the grid. You got to love it when people are getting off the grid. I'm Dr. Peter Glidden. This is Fire Your MD Now. We have a live chat tonight, live chat for insiders only. Check out the information. Check out how to access the worldwide live chats that we do. 5 hours of live chats a week, plus over 100 hours of archived health webinars that you can use immediately to grow your longevity business. The next live worldwide health chat tonight, 8 o'clock Central Time, available exclusively for Dr. Glidden insiders and their guests. Want to become an insider? Well, I don't know what you're waiting for. Go to the website, check it out, click on the link, and get her done. Link, of course, fireyourmdnow.com. That's fireyourmdnow.com. And click on the Insider button. It walks you through it. It explains the whole thing to you from nuts to bolts. It's very, very easy. $20 a month. Cancel at any time. $20 a month gives you instant access to lots and lots and lots of information that you can use to help people see the light of science-based, clinically verified medical nutrition, because that is what we are all about. Right here, right now, live at Team Glidden, Longevity Nation, coming at you loud and clear. Fire your MD now. Stick around, hour 2 coming up. Welcome back, everybody. Dr. Peter Glidden here with you. Thursday, the 20th day of March, 2014, the first day of spring. How about that? It seems like the most important things in life, the things that make you get out of bed, the things that add substance and, feeling to your life, all exist inside of the metaphysical zone, because you can't prove this stuff. You can't prove any of this stuff. And it's an important thing to talk about, because the fundamental concept of the vital force exists in this metaphysical zone because the vital force has never been objectifiably proved, right? Science has never been able to dissect the soul out of a body, not yet. They've never been able to visualize it with an ultrasound or an MRI or a CT scan or a scalpel. And so because they haven't been able to see it, because they haven't been able to feel it, because they haven't been able to measure it to modern medical science, it doesn't exist. And if it doesn't exist, it can therefore have little or nothing, can't have anything to do with what's going on inside the body, because it doesn't exist. And this is the fundamental reason why it's most important to fire your medical doctor, because they don't have an operative understanding. They have no psychological or pragmatic construct of the relationship between the spirit or the soul and the workings of the innate workings of the human body. They've thrown the baby out with the bathwater. This is why I say that the MD is like a colorblind art critic. The MD is very much like a colorblind art critic, because they disregard and they're completely unaware of anything that's going on that's of reality inside the body, vis-a-vis the inner workings of the human body, the relationship between the soul of the body and the body. Your consciousness itself, right? Holistic physicians are of the opinion that consciousness consciousness is a separate and distinct thing from the body. And your medical doctor is of the belief that your body creates consciousness. Holistic physicians believe that consciousness creates the body, and MDs believe that the body creates consciousness, right? That when you're dead, it's over. Because you can change how somebody feels and how somebody thinks by giving them drugs, right? You can give someone a psychoactive drug and change how they think and feel. You can give somebody LSD and change how they think and feel. Therefore, according to the MD, thoughts and feelings are all biochemical because you can manipulate them with biochemistry. It's nonsense. But this is the point of view that they bring to bear when they're assessing you for your health or lack thereof, right? And we say this all the time. MDs don't practice health care. They practice disease management. And it's one of life's greatest ironies, and I honestly don't know. The hypocrisy here is breathtaking. I honestly don't know how MDs do it because if you are a medical doctor, you've been trained to believe that there's no such thing as the soul, there's no such thing as the spirit, there's no such thing as God, because you can't objectifiably prove that God exists, right? You can't do it. And most MDs are religious people. So in their private lives, they're religious people. You know, they're good Jews, they're good Catholics, they're good Buddhists, they're good Hindus, they're good Christians, whatever. You know, they have a personal relationship with God when they're at home, but when they go to work, they throw that all aside, which is tantamount to being, a Democrat when you're at home and being a communist when you're at work. And I don't know how they put up with the hypocrisy. I honestly don't know how there's a cognitive disconnect there. There's a gigantic cognitive disconnect, especially in the field of psychiatric medicine. Psychiatric medicine, forget it. The psychiatrist just doesn't want anything, no conversations at all about any of this consciousness stuff, because as far as they're concerned, it's all done with chemicals, right? So what does a psychiatrist give you? Drugs. They give you psychoactive drugs in order to change the way that you think and feel. This is not a good situation. And this is why MD therapeutics are the leading cause of death in the United States, because they don't work. Why don't they work? Because the MDs have thrown the baby out with the bathwater. They have overlooked the fundamental foundation, metaphysical phenomenon of human life, that the body is endowed with a spiritual force. The body has intelligence. The body knows how to fix itself. The body wants to fix itself. The MD does not understand this, and so all of their therapeutics are designed to override what the body does, control and suppress it. Kind of like communism. Isn't that crazy? It gets worse, folks. Stick around. I'm going to go talk to Dave when we come back. Welcome back, everybody. Dr. Peter Glidden here, your steadfast advocate for health, coming at you live. It's the first day of spring 2014. Does it feel like spring where you are? Certainly does not feel like spring where I am. But like the fella said, what are you going to do? You just have to take it one day at a time, I suppose. Let's go right to the phones now and see what Dave is up to up in the thumb of Michigan. Hey, Dave, welcome back. You are live.
Hey, Doc, first day of spring. That means only 3 more months of winter.
I like how you think.
I'm telling you, brother. Hey, every time your show, we listen to your show every day. Every time the intro music comes on, my 14-month-old grandson, boy, he just starts dancing. He loves it. He's looking at the phone. Dr. G.
Yeah, you got to love it, right? Well, we appreciate that.
You, boy.
We appreciate that. So
yeah.
What's on your mind today?
Well, Pam is one of your miracle testimonials, and she's still struggling. She only gets about 4 hours of sleep a night. She works, she drives 40 miles one way to work. She works in the factory, Ford factory, production, building those transmissions. And she wakes up, about 1:30 in the morning. She's wide awake. By the time she leaves for work, about 3:30, she's got about an hour drive, and she gets about halfway to work, and she's feeling like she's going to fall asleep.
All right. So hold on.
Yep.
So what time does she go to bed?
She goes to bed between 6:30 and 8:30, depending on, working the business and.
Yeah, okay. And is it easy or is it hard for her to fall asleep?
No, she usually, when she gets in bed, she drops right off.
Okay, so 8:30, let's say she's asleep, 8:30, 9:30, 10:30, 11:30, 12:30, 1:30, 2:30, 3:30. So she gets 7 hours of sleep?
No, heck no. She goes to work at 3:30. She gets up at 1:30, but I forgot to tell you, she wakes up at about 10, to go to the bathroom and check on everything out in the house, to make sure we're okay,
Well, she needs to stop doing that.
Yeah, I know.
Why does she wake up at 10? Is that just like,
It's just bam. She wakes up at 10 every night, and she has to go tinkle, and then she comes out and, make sure we got the, all the chores done, and then she goes back to bed, drops right back off. The alarm goes off at 1:25 a.m., and bam, she's up, and, she does her thing, and I get up at 3 and, get her off to work by 3:30, and she's, trying to falling asleep on the way to work.
Well, all right. So look, she's just simply not getting enough sleep. So
that's what I keep telling her.
She needs to go to bed earlier, or she needs to knock off waking up at 10 o'clock to get up and check on everybody. And I have
How do you do that?
Well, I don't know how you do that. I have no idea how you do that. I bet that somebody in the longevity downline, though, has experience with kind of retraining your brain along those lines. So I'm sure that there's a way that she can do it. But this is not a nutritional thing. This is just a human nature thing. She needs more sleep. Well, and there ain't no vitamin in the world that's going to make her get more sleep. Now, one thing that she can do so she doesn't die in an automobile on the way to work, my parents fell asleep once when they were driving. They went, I grew up on the East Coast, and my grandmother on my father's side was from Prince Edward Island in Canada, and they took a road trip up to Prince Edward Island. And my father fell asleep. My mother was asleep. I don't know how long a drive it was, but luckily they were in the middle of nowhere on a 2-lane highway, and there was a gigantic grass median, like it was probably 50 yards wide, and then another 2-lane highway on the other side of it. And my father woke up when the car was in the grass median bouncing around. Luckily, there were no trees or anything there. They would have smacked right into one. So it's a common thing to have happen. Well, what she can do until she just snaps out of it and goes to bed earlier or sets the alarm clock for an hour later. I mean, I don't know how long it takes her to get ready for work, for goodness sake. But in any event, one thing that she can do while she's driving is the pollen burst. Right. I don't know if you've ever tried the pollen burst, but it is fantastic for giving you a boost. It's got caffeine in it, plus a lot of B vitamins that your body needs in order to metabolize that. So I like to use the pollen burst when I'm attempting to keep myself up, whenever I'm doing a long drive or I just haven't gotten enough sleep or whatever. But remember, that's a poor substitute for enough circadian rhythm sleep. So she needs to dial this in. She needs to figure it out. Now, some people, and so here's what happens with sleep. There's a certain amount of sleep that everybody needs every day. There's a certain amount of hours and minutes that you need, that I need, and that everybody needs. They did an interesting sleep study years ago at Boston University, and they took students, of course, we experiment on students like this, right? And they put them in the basement, in basement rooms for like a week with no windows, and the kids had absolutely no idea what time it was, and the people who were conducting the study had control of the lights, right, and everything else. It was a completely controlled experiment. And what they found was that when you have no idea at all what time it is, and you kind of get in sync with your body's normal sleep-waking cycle, you need between 6 and 9 hours of sleep a night. Everybody's different. Everybody has their own time allotment. So let's say my time allotment is 6 hours, and that's what my body needs every night. If Monday night I get 5 hours of sleep for whatever reason, the phone rings or the alarm clock, the dog barks or whatever, and instead of getting 5 hours, I get 6 hours, I develop a 1 hour sleep debt. If the next night I get 5.5 hours sleep, I have a half an hour sleep debt. So now I have a 1.5 hour sleep debt. And the sleep debt keeps adding up until you pay it off, which is why people that work night jobs, people that have crazy schedules, people that can't get a normal, natural sleep cycle in 7 days a week, at some point in time, you know, she'll go on vacation, or the weekend will roll around, or the holidays roll around, and she'll be in bed for like 8, 9, 10, 12 hours. And she'll sleep for an enormously long amount of time and then wake up because she's paid off the debt. So the debt will accumulate until you pay it off. So it's really kind of important here that she gets the requisite amount of sleep every night. And so, you know, I would look towards, she's got to just dial it in somehow, man. She's got to go to sleep early, or she's got to just knock off getting up at 10 o'clock or whatever. But in the meantime, as she's rolling down the road, pun intended, she can try the pollen burst. And, you know, how long is the drive?
It's an hour.
All right, so half an hour into the drive, have her start the pollen burst, right?
Okay, now let me ask you, she is very sensitive to gluten. What about that wheat protein in that pollen burst?
No, you don't need to worry about it.
Doc mentioned that.
Yeah, well, it's as far as I'm concerned. Yeah, you could do the rebound. The pollen burst would be better. And I've not known anybody that has a reaction to that. I've not known anybody that's had a reaction to that. It's, you know, maybe 1% of the population. But it's possible that she could have a reaction to it. She can do a test on the weekend, you know, have half of a serving of pollen burst. If she's that sensitive to gluten and it's a problem for her, then she'll know it. And she won't have to suffer the consequences of a full dose. But she needs a stimulant, or she's going to drive off the road and kill herself, man. I'm telling you, you don't want that to happen.
No, definitely not. What about low blood pressure?
Low blood pressure, well, it's the same thing as high blood pressure. It's a faulty mechanism inside the body, and the body just doesn't have the raw materials that it needs in order to have appropriately correct blood pressure. So what do we do all the time? We don't treat low blood pressure. We don't treat high blood pressure. We don't treat a darn thing. We just give the body the raw materials that it needs to be healthy, get out of the way, and see what happens. So it's exactly the same protocol to support and promote the structure and function of the cardiovascular system. It's the Healthy Start Pack, selenium, and extra calcium. That should do it. Sometimes with low blood pressure, there's a relationship to an underactive thyroid. So symptoms of an underactive thyroid are you gain weight, which is inappropriate for calorie intake, like you gain more weight than you should for, you know, a certain amount of calories. You're kind of sluggish all day long. You have dry skin and dry hair, and you're cold. You're colder than the average bear. If any of those symptoms are present, then it would be prudent, in addition to, with the low blood pressure, to order for yourself blood work and check it out. And the blood work to get here is called Free T like Thomas 3 and Free T like Thomas 4, Free T3 and Free T4. And you can order those lab tests yourself. You can sidestep the MD completely by going to mdlabtests.com. That's mdlabtests.com. Check it out, Dave. I got to move on.
Hands and feet.
Well, she might have an underactive thyroid, but if you do that test, you'll know. That's really the only way to know. And don't do any other thyroid test. Just do that test. Because if she goes to an MD and they test her thyroid, they're going to run a completely different test, which is inconclusive. So just order the test yourself. You know, I don't know how much it's going to be, but it's a much better way to do it. Unless you have an extremely progressive MD who's willing to order this test, but you know, that's like trying to find a white crow. I mean, good luck. All right, Dave, I got to move on, buddy. Thanks so much for the call. Keep up the good work up there in Michigan. South Carolina's up next. Let's talk to Jessica and see what's going on. Hey, Jessica, thanks for the call. You are live.
Hi, Dr. Glidden. This is Jessica. I have a prospective client that I want to ask you about. It's a man, and he's 76 years old, weighs 180, and he has what the doctors have come up with. It says it's primary progressive aphasia, APHASIA.
Yeah, so it's hard for him to talk and articulate words?
Sir?
Is it hard for him to talk? So, like, he'll say...
I was going to say, yes. He's got to where he can't talk at all.
Yeah, that's interesting. Then, does he know, was there any precipitating stress in his life, like that the inability to talk started after an automobile accident or after he got divorced or after his wife died or anything like that?
No, what happened was a little over a year ago, he had real bad heart palpitations, and he felt like he was maybe having a heart attack. So they rushed him to the emergency room at the hospital, and they did an MRI and some other tests. They said he didn't have a heart attack.
Well, that's interesting.
From that time on, his speech was slurred.
Very, very interesting. All right, Jessica, hold on. Hard break here. Stick around. I'll come back to you after the break. I appreciate your phone call. Fire your MD now, ladies and gentlemen. Check it out. We're live streaming through YouTube. And we're back, ladies and gentlemen. Thursday, the first day of spring, March 20th, 2014. We're talking to Jessica, I believe, from South Carolina. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Jessica, yeah, so we're talking about aphasia, correct?
Yes.
Okay, so it's interesting that this should have started after an incident with his heart, right? So he had a heart condition, strong and persistent symptoms. He went to the emergency room and they had no idea what was going on with him?
Right.
Yeah, I mean, how does that make you feel about conventional Western medicine? Does that make you feel warm and fuzzy inside, right?
No.
I know, right?
Right.
I know. I mean, if the garbage man in your town laid down on the job and the garbage started piling up, and you paid to have the garbage picked up and they didn't pick the garbage up, or they picked half of it up, or they came to your street and they turned the can upside down and dumped the garbage all over the street, the whole town would be in an uproar, and there'd be a town meeting about it, and the people would get fired. But when the MDs drop the ball, what do? We write another medical insurance premium check. We just keep giving them money, and it's nonsense. I mean, honest to God, it's nonsense. But I digress. So remember, in the context of this radio program and in the context of longevity at large, we don't treat disease. Now, in my private practice, I treat disease. And naturopathic physicians and chiropractors and homeopathic physicians in the United States and all around the world in areas that were licensed and regulated, we treat disease. But in the context of this radio show, what we're recommending and what we're talking about and what we're putting forth to the world are boilerplate, foundation, medical nutrition, healing therapeutics, the intention of which are to support and promote different areas of the body, to support and promote the optimal functioning of different parts of the body. And, in this guy's case, it would be the brain and central nervous system, right, because that's what's at play. If someone had a broken bone, they'd get a healthy bone and joint pack, right? If someone had heartburn, they'd get a healthy digestion pack. Well, when somebody has this type of a problem, the recommendation, of course, is easy. What we start with for the first 90 days is one healthy brain and heart pack. One healthy brain and heart pack and one selenium. One brain and heart pack and one selenium per 100 pounds of body weight per month. Plus, he and you and me and everybody else in the world need to eliminate the 10 bad foods. Are you familiar with that list, Jessica?
Oh, yes. Yes.
Okay, yeah. So I did a really good webinar on that. It's actually all over YouTube now. It's called Against the Grain. So you can go to YouTube, type in Dr. Glidden Against the Grain. It'll pop right up, and you can send him a link to that and have him watch it. Because, eating wheat, barley, rye, and oats is a big deal for most people. It's really, we've kind of grown up with it. And to pull that rug out from underneath people often is problematic, and people hem and haw, and they resist, and they don't want to do it because they don't know any better. And I'm telling you, if someone gets on board with a medical nutrition program and they don't eliminate the 10 bad foods, the program is going to be way less effective and deliver way less results than it would if they do change their diet. So the dietary stuff is really pretty important, especially when we've got stuff like this, stuff in the brain, right? I mean, this is a big deal. You can't talk. What the heck? So the recommendation, 1 healthy brain and heart pack and 1 bottle of selenium per 100 pounds of body weight per month is a very, very, very good place to start. Now, do you have any idea, Jessica, whether when this started it was first he got laryngitis and then he became hoarse and then he couldn't talk, or was it different?
He didn't even have any of that until after he went to the hospital.
Yeah, okay.
He had slurred speech when he...
Yeah, it's interesting. So I'm going to stick with that recommendation, the Healthy Brain and Heart Pack and selenium, plus eliminate the 10 bad foods. Expect a miracle here. We always do, because I don't know where the point of no return is. There is one, but I don't know where it is. His medical doctor certainly doesn't know where it is. He needs the nutrition anyway. So let's give him the nutrition, keep our fingers crossed, and see how far back his body bounces. Thanks for the call, Jessica. Hour 2 coming up, folks. Stick around. It's the first day of spring, finally. I'm Dr. Peter Glidden, and this is Fire Your MD Now.